Let's look at a word problem involving fractions. First, we will read the problem to get the gist of the problem, and then we'll read it again and look for the information it contains. I am bored lives 7/8 of a mile from the school. Mr. Bored decided to go for a run. Since he's out of shape because he isn't allowed to play sports, he only ran 3/5 of the way to school before he had to start walking. How far did I am bored run? Now let's read it again, and we're going to remember the first step of problem solving is to understand the problem. We want to find out what's the question and what information does it give us. I am bored lived 7/8 of a mile from the school. So 7/8 of a mile. Okay, that's important. Mr. Bored decided to go for a run. Since he's out of shape because he isn't allowed to play sports, he only ran 3/5 of the way to the school. So he lived 7/8 of a mile from the school and he only ran 3/5 of that way before he had to start walking. How far did I am bored run? So that's our question. So we know what our question is, we know what information we have. Now we want to plan. We can think of this a couple of different ways. We can look for keywords and we can also visualize what the problem is asking. So we can think of he wants to run 7/8 of a mile. So here's 1 mile, and 7/8 would be about this far. So he wants to run this far, okay? And it says that he ran 3/5 of the way to the school. So remember, when we do this problem, our answer ought to be smaller than 7/8 because he didn't run the whole 7/8 miles. He only ran 3/5 of that distance. Now, we can look at keywords. We have, let's see, out of shape. Is that useful? Not really, because that doesn't have anything to do with our numbers. Let's not look at that one. He ran 3/5 of the way. That's a good one. Okay, that's the only keyword I see in here. Now, 3/5 of what? If we say 3/5 of, how far is it to the school? 7/8. When we have a problem that we can express in words as saying 3/5 of 7/8, that means 3/5 times 7/8. Okay, so this is not one we can simplify before we do it, so we get 21 over 40. Now, that was how we solved it. That was our third step of problem solving. We understood the problem, we made our plan here, and then we solved it. Now, the last step is important because we need to check to see if our answer makes sense. We need to see, did we answer the question? How far did he run? Yes, we've answered the question. Now, if it had asked us how much further does he have to go, we'd still have another step to do because we would have found out part of the information. But it just asks us how far he ran, and 3/5 of 7/8 is how far he ran. So we've answered the question. Now we need to see, does our answer make sense? Let's think about this. 21/40, that's about 1/2 because 20/40 would be equal to 1/2. So he ran about 1/2 of a mile, right? So that's somewhere around here. Now let's look at our picture. If this is halfway to a mile and he ran 3/5 of the way to 7/8, 3/5 is more than halfway to 7/8. Our answer is in here. It's a little more than halfway to the whole distance. And so this 21/40 makes sense. Check at the end of your problem. Is your number way too big or way too little? Does it make sense? Because that's how you can find your errors a lot of the time.